On certain nights, when the air over the Blue Ridge Mountains turns cool and still, and the stars hang low over the Carolina wilderness, something strange stirs above the dark ridgelines. Out there, beyond the reach of porch lights and street lamps, where shadows run deep between the peaks, mysterious lights rise from the slopes of Brown Mountain, glowing, drifting, dancing in the night like silent will-o'-the-wisps. For generations, people have stood in the hush of these hills, eyes wide, watching orbs of pale gold and bluish white hover in the blackness, then fade away as if they'd never been. And yet, the next night, they return, the Brown Mountain Lights, one of America's oldest, most enduring, and most beguiling mysteries. The first whispers of these strange illuminations reach back further than recorded history, into the oral traditions of the Cherokee and Catawba peoples. Long before settlers crossed into these valleys, the local tribes spoke of ghost fires, restless spirits roaming the mountains after dark, searching for lost warriors or wandering into battlefields unseen by the living. Some said the lights were the souls of maidens, holding eternal vigil for their loved ones who never returned from war. The stories were not told to frighten, but to remind people that the mountains were alive with memory, and that not all who walk the ridges are made of flesh and bone. By the late 1700s, European settlers were telling their own versions. Hunters, trappers, and mountain folk who knew every rock and tree claimed that certain nights brought a strange glow, one that had nothing to do with fireflies or campfires. They spoke of luminous orbs drifting low across the slopes, bright enough to be seen from miles away, yet vanishing if you tried to approach. And then came the Civil War, when bloody skirmishes swept through these hills. In the years after, the lights were seen more often and more brightly, leading many to believe they were the spirits of soldiers who had fallen far from home. But it was in 1913 that the mystery burst into national attention. On September 24th of that year, a man named D.G. Lusk, a fisherman and merchant from nearby Morganton, wrote to the Charlotte Daily Observer describing his own sighting. Standing on the porch of a friend's home in the Linville Valley, he'd seen a brilliant light rise from the southern slope of Brown Mountain, hover for a moment, then drift upward before winking out. The report caught the public's imagination, and soon newspapers across the state were carrying the story. People began traveling to vantage points, such as Wiseman's View and later the Brown Mountain Overlook, hoping to catch a glimpse for themselves. It wasn't long before the U.S. Geological Survey was called in. In 1913, they sent an investigator who concluded the lights were nothing more than reflections from automobile headlights on the newly built roads in the valley below. A tidy, modern explanation, until the locals pointed out that the lights had been seen long before cars ever reached this remote area. A second investigation in 1922 suggested they were caused by locomotives on the Southern Railway line, their lights refracting in the valley's moist night air. Again, the old-timers shook their heads. The trains had come late to these parts, they said, and the lights were older still. And so the sightings continued, seen by farmers in their fields, families on summer picnics, and scientists with cameras and notebooks. The lights appear in different ways to different people, sometimes as single, glowing spheres the size of lanterns, sometimes as a string of smaller orbs drifting together like beads on an invisible cord, sometimes pulsing brighter before fading away. They are said to rise from the side of the mountain or from the forest canopy, not from the peaks, and they almost never make a sound. One of the more haunting accounts came from the 1930s, when a group of campers reported that the lights approached their site, growing larger and brighter until they hung just beyond the tree line. The air, they said, grew oddly still. No wind, no crickets, only the faint rustle of leaves. Then, as quickly as they'd come, the lights retreated, disappearing into the darkness. The campers never forgot the sensation of being watched, as though whatever intelligence lay behind the lights had paused to study them before gliding away. Over the years, theories have multiplied. Some remain firmly in the realm of science. One is the idea of marsh gas, the ignition of methane released from decaying plant matter, a natural but rare occurrence in certain wetlands. Another proposes that the lights are an example of piezoelectricity, the release of electrical charges from quartz-rich rock under pressure. The Blue Ridge Mountains are laced with quartz, and tectonic stresses could, in theory, produce luminous discharges visible on the surface. Yet skeptics point out that such glows are usually short-lived and erratic, unlike the consistent, often patterned appearances of the Brown Mountain lights. Then there's the atmospheric explanation: temperature inversions and layers of warm and cool air bending light from distant sources, headlights, campfires, even house lamps, and projecting them into the mountains in ways that make them appear to float. This might account for some sightings, but not those reported on moonless nights in the dead of winter, when there are few artificial lights to refract. And beyond science, the folkloric explanations endure. In the Cherokee tradition, some believe the lights are the lingering energy of a great battle between the Cherokee and the Catawba, spirits forever reliving their final moments. In Appalachian ghost lore, others claim they are the lanterns of long-dead slaves or indentured servants, forever searching for a way home through the dense, unyielding forest. UFO enthusiasts, of course, offer a more cosmic possibility. To them, the lights are not bound to the mountain at all, but are small craft, drones or probes, sent by an extraterrestrial intelligence. They point to reports where the lights seem to respond to human presence, changing direction, altering speed, or blinking in patterns as though signaling. Some claim they have been chased by the lights along remote roads, the glowing orbs following at treetop height before vanishing as suddenly as they appeared. And then there are the more intimate encounters, stories harder to verify but impossible to shake once you've heard them. A woman from Burke County tells of walking her dog one evening when a pale blue orb drifted silently down the hillside toward her. Her dog froze, ears back, but made no sound. The orb stopped just a few feet away, swaying gently in midair. She said she felt an odd warmth on her face and a pressure in her chest like the moment before a storm breaks. Then, without a flicker, it was gone, leaving her standing in the darkness, heart pounding, unsure if she had been in the presence of nature, spirit, or something from far beyond. No matter the explanation, or lack of one, the lights continue to draw the curious. On crisp autumn nights, cars line the overlooks along Highway 181, their occupants bundled in blankets, cameras ready, waiting. Some nights they see nothing but stars. Other nights, the sky above Brown Mountain comes alive, the lights appearing without warning, gliding and darting as though performing for the hushed crowd below. People gasp, point, and whisper, but no one can explain it in the moment. And perhaps that's the point. The Brown Mountain lights have been studied, documented, and theorized about for more than a century, yet they remain elusive, refusing to be pinned down by science or story. They are, at once, a tourist attraction, a scientific puzzle, and a thread of living folklore binding together generations in wonder. Standing at the overlook, the wind in your hair and the scent of pine drifting up from the valley, it's easy to feel the pull of the mystery. You watch the darkness, knowing countless eyes have done the same for hundreds of years. Cherokee hunters, Civil War soldiers, curious travelers, all gazing toward that same ridge, waiting for the lights to appear. And when they do, you can't help but feel a shiver, not of fear, but of recognition, that the world is still vast, still strange, and still capable of surprising us. Thank you for joining me tonight in exploring one of the oldest unsolved mysteries of the Appalachian Mountains. I wonder, if you were to see the Brown Mountain lights with your own eyes, would you seek to explain them, or simply stand in their glow and let the wonder take hold? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, please like, comment, and share. It truly helps keep these stories alive.